Happy hump day, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point, right there, joined by CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera. Thank you very much for joining us. And today, we got three teams left. We're going to be banging out one of them today, the San Francisco 49ers season preview. A shocking team to kind of make it to the conference championship game last year. Nobody really saw that coming, at least at the beginning of the season. Hit their stride somewhere in the middle. So we're going to talk about them and break down what we think they're going to be like in 2022. Also, if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Prime Sports World is a pretty good place to hang out. We go live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content. Also, I actually have the StreamYard link into all of the places onto our main Prime Sports World Facebook page. So if you want to join us and talk San Francisco 49ers football, please be more than welcome to do so. That is on the Prime Sports World main Facebook page. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. As we will continue to give you guys consistent content. We go live every day. If you like, consistency, you like content every day you can watch and enjoy, Prime Sports World is a place to hang out. What's up, man? Happy hump day, buddy. How are you, man? You looking sharp over there, man.
Happy hump day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm razor sharp, feeling like a nice knife slicing through butter, baby. Ready to get it going. I don't like the 49ers. I actually despise them. They're actually I hate them just as much as I hate the Bears, probably even more than the Bears. So let's get this show on the road. But I have
if you don't know already, Izzy is a Packer fan, and they've had their number in the playoffs the last couple times you guys have played each other.
No, it's not the last couple times. It's been my whole life. Okay.
So you might be a little bit better.
It's been my whole freaking life. Every time we see the 49ers in the playoffs, they eliminate us. Except for that. Wait, hold on. No, they eliminate us. Yeah. I don't remember a time in which we beat the 49ers in the playoffs. I don't remember.
So let's talk about it a little bit. What are we expecting out of San Francisco this season? A lot of uncertainty, especially at the quarterback position. Debo Samuel finally re-signed his extension. I'll get that number for you here in a couple of minutes. But what are we expecting out of San Francisco this season?
He
did get paid. I'll get that contract number in a second. I think it was like $74 million or like $58 guaranteed. That might have been the Metcalf deal. Hold on a second. I'll pull it up.
Man, rightfully so. Debo's such like a Swiss Army knife at that wide receiver position. He's lethal carrying the football. Yak.
31 years, $71 million, $58 million in guaranteed money.
Yeah, I was close to 60 million guaranteed. It was 58 million. He got paid. I love that. I just hope he just, remains healthy, because when he's healthy, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. Like I said, he's like a Swiss Army knife. Going back on the 49ers, man, the only thing that I can look at to where I'm like, this team, is the quarterback position. You just mentioned it. They still haven't traded Jimmy Garoppolo. He's pretty much gone at this point. Trey Lance is an uncertain commodity. We don't know what he's gonna be, but if he's anything like he was in North Dakota State, he was a winner. He barely lost any football games. He's accurate. He's fast.
He went an entire season without throwing a pick.
Yeah. He's accurate. He makes great decisions with the football. That's the kind of guy you want as your franchise quarterback. That's the kind of guy that they haven't had with Jimmy G. Well, Jimmy G's been okay with the football. He's been all right.
Yeah, he took him to a Super Bowl, took him to an NFC Championship game. He was one overthrow of Emmanuel Sanders away from winning that Super Bowl. But so San Francisco, when I expect I actually think they'll just take a step back this season. Like I don't think they're going to be I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to be in the NFC Championship game this season. I don't know if they're even going to be I don't even know if they're going to be a playoff team without looking at their schedule, how difficult it is, and they play a really tough division outside of Seattle. I expect San Francisco to make probably, if we're talking about teams that make the biggest leap backwards this season, they may be the team that makes the biggest leap backwards. Like when it comes to what they did from the season ago to this season, I think the fall for San Francisco could be quite stark.
Really? Huh.
Yeah,
interesting.
Because there's a lot of uncertainty at the quarterback position. Let's actually get into their storylines, and let's talk about that storyline. The plan of quarterback. It does seem like Trey Lance is designated to be the quarterback number one, at least for the beginning of the season. The Jimmy Garoppolo thing is still because he had off-season shoulder surgery, so I think teams were hesitant to trade for him. But now he's been cleared to practice. He's been cleared to get back on the football field. The San Francisco 49ers have allowed him to go seek a trade. Not that they haven't been doing that the whole time, but I mean, I'm just not sure what the plan is at quarterback. I mean, if Trey Lance has a couple bad games and Jimmy Garoppolo's still in the roster, do you pull the plug on him, or do you just roll with however Trey Lance? Because he didn't really play in a pro style offense there in North Dakota State. I know they won a lot, but I mean, he wasn't asked to do a whole lot.
It was interesting today. They had the training camp, and a lot of the fans were like gravitated towards Jimmy Garoppolo throwing on that backfield. They were really interested in Jimmy. I think there's the fan base in San Fran. I think still some of the fans, they still like Jimmy. They still think Jimmy's the guy.
I mean, you should. I mean, he took you to a Super Bowl. He took you to the NFC Championship game just last year.
Yeah, and so I think
we're not talking about a guy who took you to the championship game 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like last year,
2 years ago. Yeah, if Jimmy, and Jimmy's kind of shown that he can kind of remain, healthy as a 49er in a way. I mean, throughout his career, no, but if he's healthy,
he has missed. He has. Yeah, I mean, in the stats out there, I think he's like 24-6 with Kyle Shanahan as his quarterback, as his head coach.
Yeah, and that's remarkable.
I mean, he's got a really absurd level of like track record of with Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback. They win a lot of games.
Jimmy. Oh, sorry to cut you off, but my thing with Jimmy is that, and you probably could piggyback off this. He has great command of the offense, and he knows the offense. And so my thing is how much command is Trey Lance going to have with this offense? That's a even bigger question, right? Is the plan? Yeah, the plan is to roll with Trey Lance, but how much command? How much is how smooth is it going to be of a transition with Trey Lance at the quarterback position?
I mean, not to mention, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo knows the offense. He's been there for 4 seasons. I mean, the offensive pieces around him obviously gravitate towards him, and he's been an absolute winner. Like, you can't take anything away from Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been an absolute winner since he's been in San Francisco, since they traded for him. His first couple games, all he did was win. I know he missed like an entire season with an ACL tear, I think, at some point. But this has been a guy that's been out there and won football games for the San Francisco 49ers. And I think the thing is they don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy that could take them over the hump. Like they see his arm strength isn't quite there. His command of throwing the football, not of the offense, of throwing the football isn't quite there. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I mean, he's won Emmanuel Sanders' overthrow from winning that Super Bowl against Kansas City. Like if he hits Emmanuel Sanders with an accurate throw in the end zone, he was wide open. That's a touchdown. That's the game.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And Jimmy was, he came in the league as, touted as being an accurate quarterback. So that's, kind of crazy that, and I mean, that's just one throw. I mean, he's pretty, I mean, he's accurate in a way. I mean, he doesn't really like make too many bad decisions with the football. My thing is that with Trey Lance, you can't really mess this one up, right? I mean, yeah, you got Debo Samuel, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got George Kittle, you got a bevy of running backs, you got a hell of an offensive line. There's no way you're basically getting, handed the keys to a Ferrari, and you're basically asked to not crash it, Yeah,
I mean, I don't understand. I would have probably I wouldn't have Jimmy Garoppolo still on this team at this point. Like I would have for sure been able to. I would have either released him or traded him away because every day that this goes on, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers are going to have to ask the questions about like is Trey Lance? Are you sure the Trey Lance is going to be the guy? This and this and that. I would have already resolved this quarterback problem before we even got to the training camp situation or to OTAs. Because now we're getting into spring, we're getting into training camp, we're getting into the preseason games. Or I imagine they're going to want to showcase Jimmy Garoppolo to other teams, be like, "Hey, yeah, this guy's healthy; he can make all the throws." But the other problem is where are you going to trade him to? I mean, Seattle seems pretty hard set on just flaming out here. Carolina doesn't seem to be an option. None of the other teams in the NFL really make a whole lot of sense for a Jimmy Garoppolo trade outside of maybe Atlanta, but they seem like they're going to be tanking too. I just don't like his destination where they're going to trade him to doesn't seem to be apparent to me.
I don't think there is a destination. Like if you look at every team across the NFL, they have their young quarterback. They have their franchise, quote unquote, franchise quarterback. I mean, I look at every single team across the NFL. The only team I could think of is like a New Orleans, Who has
they
have
pretty
James Winston.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I can't even think of another New York Giants, maybe.
I mean, I think they're going to roll. I think they're going to roll with Daniel Jones, because I don't think the Giants are expecting to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, you want to talk about maybe the Miami if Tua doesn't get off to a good start. I mean, that could potentially be a destination where they trade him to Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, outside of that, I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see the destination.
We got our boy Jose Luis Gotcha. He's a Giants fan and he wants Jimmy Garoppolo on his team. It's not happening.
Also, if I'm any of those teams in the National Football League, I'm not giving up anything legitimate, like a legitimate asset, to get a guy that you're going to have to release probably at some point because you can't stand it.
What's Jimmy worth? A 4th rounder, 5th rounder?
But I'm not even going to give that up. I mean, San Francisco, you continue to deal with this problem you're going to have for the entire season until you make some sort of decision. Like Trey Lance, as long as Jimmy Garoppolo stays on the team, they got Matt Ryan. They don't need him.
I know they got Matt Ryan, but he's on his way out, man.
Sure. Okay, sure. But but Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, like every week that Jimmy Garoppolo is on the roster, if Trey Lance doesn't play well, the fan base there is going to be clamoring for a guy that took you to the NFC Championship game last year, and it's just going to be like exactly what happened with like the Bears situation last year. Yeah, exactly like that. Where if he doesn't play well, they're clamoring for the young player. I mean, it's not a win-win situation. I do not think he'll be on the roster by the time the season starts. I think they'll either release him or they'll find somewhere to trade him, and they'll trade him for like a 7th round pick.
I just don't know where they would trade him to.
That's the value.
I'm just trying to think of where they would trade him to. He
could be Tom Brady's backup and take over for Tom Brady next season.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't know if the money works. Like if
they have to trade him, though, David. You're right. They have to trade him because you can't roll into the next season with Jimmy waiting in the wings. Of the smallest inkling of Jimmy messing up. Of Trey Lance messing up. Here we're gonna roll out Jimmy G. And just ruin Trey Lance's confidence. And that's the same thing that the Bears did to Mitch Trubisky with when they had Nick Foles. It's the same thing that a lot of teams that keep that veteran quarterback on the team.
I think that's something that like Baltimore avoided. Like they traded away Joe Flacco. And then the Chiefs avoided. Like they traded away Alex Smith. Like so, if you have a veteran guy that has the locker room, like you can't have those guys still on the roster. It has been proven that it's not a scenario that works because the fans get attached to the quarterback, and as long as he's still there, if Trey Lance comes off the gate struggling, they're going to be clamoring for him. So you have to find a way to get rid of him. Like you have to just trade him away.
I agree.
Let's move on to the second storyline. We got Debo Samuel. That extension is done. We talked about at the top of the show. Is he the most important player on offense that they have?
Absolutely. He does so much on their team. He's good at over the middle. He's good running routes, deep post routes, and he's a killer on the jet sweeps. He's a killer in the rushing attack. He is definitely their most important player because he does so much for that team. He's a game breaker, first of all. Like this guy can get a handoff at midfield and score a touchdown. He's big, he's fast, he can break tackles. He is a matchup problem for most nickel corners. He's a matchup problem for most linebackers. He's a matchup problem for most defenders in the league because he just moves around the ball so much. Think of Delaney Walker, how teams used to lose Delaney Walker, but this is how they're using a wide receiver in Debo Samuel. Okay, he's definitely their most important player on the San Francisco 49ers, hands down. I love George Kittle. I love Kittle. Kittle might be
you can make the argument that I think George Kittle might be their most important. Debo Samuel's for sure. If like we're talking about importance, I mean those two guys are 1 and 2, and then Trey Lance is probably 3. But like George Kittle, like it's like when you look at when George Kittle's on the football field as opposed to when he's not. I mean the difference in their offense is staggering. Debo Samuel you can make the same argument. I mean when you look at their offense when he's not on the football field or not healthy. I honestly think that George Kittle is actually the most important player on this offense. I know Debo Samuel got paid. I know he played really well last season, but like George Kittle is kind of the engine that makes this offense go. A long time it was like a Raheem Mostert type of guy. He missed all of last season, but George Kittle has been the steady hand that's kind of been there through all of the phases of San Francisco 49er football. Yeah, I think it's George Kittle. I think it's close between him and Debo Samuel, but the George Kittle and the intangibles and like what he brings to this offense, I think is more valuable than even Debo Samuel.
I'm not gonna disagree with you on that one because I literally brought that up. I was just like, I'm thinking George Kittle is right up there. I just think of all the things that Debo does, and Kittle does other things though, right? Kittle's a blocker. He's a hell of a run blocker. He's a hell of a mismatch problem with most linebackers. He's one of the best playmakers at the tight end position in the league. He has great body control. He runs great routes from the tight end position. He's fast. He's big. He's a good red zone threat. George Kittle and he's the guy that you can give. You could probably get him on a jet sweep. I haven't seen that, but you could give him a jet sweep or two. On some trick plays or something like that. I don't see it a lot, but George Kittle is that capable guy. So yes, he is that type of guy. I just look at the way that they scheme Debo Samuel, the way Kyle Shanahan schemes Debo Samuel. That's why I have him so most important because he could play in the slot. He could play outside. He could play at the running back position. He could run a jet sweep. He could run a drag route for 5, over 10 yards and take it to the house. He could run an intermediate route. He could run a deep post route, a deep flag route, a go route. I mean, this guy's phenomenal, man.
I don't disagree with you. Debo Samuel is very important in this offense, but I think for my money, I got to go George Kittle. But yeah, it's pretty damn close. Let's talk about this defense. Ads made some additions in the offseason. Added Kadarius Ward to the secondary, added another safety as well. How good do you think this defense can be next season, given the fact that they may be on the football field more than before? Nick Bosa is really their only proven pass rusher. Fred Warner might be the best linebacker in football. Jimmy Ward out of the MAC. NIU baby, go Huskies!
NIU baby,
and he's been a pretty good safety in the National Football League since he's been in San Francisco.
Really consistent safety.
But how good do we think this defense is going to be? Because let's not forget they're playing against some of the offenses, like at least 2 of the offenses in their own division that should be like in the top 10 when it comes to production. And
the Rams and the Cardinals. Yep.
Yeah, I mean once DeAndre Hopkins comes back.
Well, Nick Bosa's dang near unguard. I mean, he unblockable almost. I mean, he's a man amongst boys when he's out there on the field. Eric Armstead's a good him and Javon Kinlaw. They are just massive human beings.
Yeah, Javon Kinlaw hasn't really been all that good in the NFL.
He's still young though, but
he's still pretty young, but he hasn't been all that good.
He's a space eater. I'll give him that. And then anytime you have the best middle linebacker in the NFL, your defense can do some things. I don't want to hear it's debatable. I don't want to hear about anybody else. Fred Warner is the best middle linebacker, in my opinion, in the NFL.
I think Darius Leonard is for sure has an argument.
Darius Leonard's up there. And
he doesn't even want to be called Darius Leonard anymore. It's like something else. He changed his first name.
D'Amico
Ryans? Not D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans is the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. It's something like that. Demario Davis. That's it.
Demario Davis. Demario Davis. You can make an argument that those guys. I mean, Demario Davis is insane. I mean, I saw him get like 20 tackles in a game one time. But Fred Warner is hands down. I mean, this dude is an athletic freak. He's a tackling machine. He rarely misses open tackles. He's great at point of attack, and he's a great leader of the defense. And then Jimmy Ward is a hard-hitting safety that has range back there. The one thing about their defense, I'm not worried about their front seven. I'm worried about maybe some of the cornerbacks, right?
I mean, outside of Kadarius Ward, I mean, it's a lot of question marks. I mean,
Darqueze Dennard,
Emmanuel Mosley, I mean, DeMar Lenore, Jason Verrett, who's bounced around the NFL, who's currently out, who's probably going to be injured for most of the season. Even though when Jason Verrett's healthy, he's an excellent corner, but he's never healthy.
Yeah, the cornerback situation is where I get a little, that's their weakness on their defense, right? And they got that kid in the 5th round from the MAC. He's like a true nickel corner. I don't know if he'll make an immediate impact, but I think sometime this season he will, be a nickel corner in there. He will get some plays.
You're
on
talking
the
about
defense.
Sam Womack.
Yeah,
corner
Sam
out of
Womack from Toledo. Yeah. So, I like that kid. I like that they got that kid. But yeah, that cornerback situation there in San Francisco is a little bit spotty. That's I'm not worried about the front seven though. I think the front seven is going to be just fine. I think this will be a top 12 defense.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go that high. I think they'll be somewhere in the 15 to 20 range.
15 to 20.
I think Nick Bosa is just not going to be enough to generate a consistent pass rush. So I guess we'll see. Moving on to their draft. They didn't have a first round pick in this year's draft because of the Trey Lance trade last season.
Mm-hmm.
So Trey Lance is basically their first round pick this year. Took Drake Jackson, linebacker out of USC in the first round. In the second round, Tyrone Davis Price, running back out of LSU. I don't really understand why they would take a running back.
I don't understand that.
Knowing they have a bunch on their roster. I mean, they have the kid from LSU or Ohio State or Oklahoma, wherever he went last season. Then they took Danny Gray, wide receiver SMU, Spencer Burford, offensive tackle of UTSA, which is University of Texas San Antonio. Sammy Womack, who we talked about a little bit, quarterback out of Toledo, the Mac baby. Nick Zalicki, offensive tackle out of Fordham. Khalil Davis, defensive tackle at UCF, and Tariq Castro Fields, cornerback out of Penn State, and then Brock Purdy, quarterback out of Ohio State. It was a big arm, but probably just a practice squad player if he even makes the team at all.
Brock Purdy, Brock looking Purdy. What do I think about this draft? Okay, Drake Jackson, round 2. If I go back and look at if I go back and I look at that they overreached for a guy that only had 12.5 sacks in 3 years at USC. We talked about this yesterday about guys, having the great intangibles, right? Rashawn Gary, some of these other guys, they come in the league and then year after year after year in the league, they produce, they get better. Drake Jackson may be one of those guys. There's
6'4", 273. I mean, that's kind of the prototypical size you want for a defensive end.
And he's super fast off the ball. He's super fast, but he only had 12.5 sacks in 3 years at USC. That's not a lot of production for what his measurables are.
But we have talked about this. I mean, if there's nobody else on the other side you have to worry about, just double team Drake Jackson and don't let him ruin your game plan.
Yeah, and also Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is going to get double teamed a lot. So Drake Jackson, is going to have some of those opportunities to beat a tackle one-on-one. I don't get the round 3 pick. What the hell are you guys doing? You have Elijah Mitchell. You have Jeff Wilson. You can get a running back maybe
Trey Sermon too. I mean, they have 3 good running backs on their roster. They were all productive last year. I know Trey Sermon got injured early, but like Jeff Wilson Jr., when he was asked to spell Elijah Mitchell, who's a really good running back, you didn't need to spend a 3rd round pick on this. You have other needs on. You let an offensive lineman go in this cycle. What's his name? I didn't totally escape, but he had offensive line concerns that you could have addressed. I mean, a cornerback. I know they drafted a bunch in this draft class, but drafting it early would have been made way more sense than taking the later flyers on some guys you're not really sure about.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm looking at the guys that they picked him number 93. Let me see who they could have got. They could have got Zach Carter from Florida. We talked about him he didn't from the interior line position. I mean, he had 7.5 sacks out of Florida. He's a guy that you could have went and got. Kirby Joseph from Illinois. That's another guy that you could have went and got. I mean, David Bell from Purdue. I mean, even though I like the kid that they got, Danny Gray out of SMU. I mean, he's solid. I mean, you could have got. You could have got the kid from Cincinnati, Majai Sanders. You could have got another linebacker in Channing Tindall from Georgia.
I mean, you could have got Nicole. I think Nakobe Dean was still on the board at that point. You could have got Nakobe Dean.
Nakobe Dean got picked ahead of him. Nakobe Dean got picked number 83, so he got picked 10 picks ahead of him. But it's just there's guys on the board that are left there that got picked after that kid that you could have added to your defense that you actually had a need in. You had linebacker need. You had, you could have moved Leo Chanel could have played. Leo Chanel, golly, I'm talking. He's an inside linebacker, but you can move him to outside. It's not bad to have 2 Fred Warner and Leo Chanel. Huh? What? I'll take that all day. Come on, man. So, my thing is, I hate that pick, that running back pick. I hate that pick. And then, the kid Danny Gray ran a 4.340. You can't teach speed. Speed kills. And then I didn't really see the kid out of UTSA too much. I didn't really watch a lot of tape. But the kid from Toledo is a natural nickel corner. Love that pick. That's a solid pick. That's a pick that's going to pay dividends in the next couple years for them in their defense. He's going to be a natural nickel corner for them. He could possibly be a number 2 corner, and I think he might get some snaps at some point this year. In the rotation, and he'll contribute in special teams as well. And then the rest of their picks, I don't really know too much about. Tariq Castro-Fields, I think I might have seen a little bit of him at Penn State. He doesn't really stand out to me. And then obviously Brock Purdy. We all kind of know Brock Purdy's resume. So
4.38 for Tariq Castro-Fields in the 40-yard dash. 4.38.
That's fast.
That's real fast.
That's fast.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy was a 4-year starter for the Cyclones. I mean, he's going to probably. I mean, whatever they do with Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he'll probably be the backup or something. Yeah, he'll probably be the backup or third quarterback, whatever happens.
If I have to give it a grade, I'll have to give them a C. I mean, it wasn't a good. It wasn't. They had so many other needs, getting the running back and the running back and the wide receiver in the 3rd round. When you could have gotten cornerbacks or safeties,
I mean, wide receiver. I know Danny Green is fast, but that wide receiver was not area of need of this team. Like they have a lot of they have Debo Samuel, Brian Ayuk, Juwan Jennings. That's enough. Ray McCloud is on your free agency. Malik Turner they got from the Cowboys. Like that would have been enough to get through this season. Like all wide receiver was not a need, and neither was running back. You have other wasted 2 picks for sure. Let's move on from their draft. Let's talk about their free agency. So maybe in addition to Tre'Davious Ward, corner it came from the Kansas City Chiefs. George Odom, safety. Ray McCloud, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. Oren Burks, inside linebacker, came from the Green Bay Packers. Notable departures: Laken Tomlinson signed with the Jets. He's an offensive lineman at guard usually. DJ Jones, defensive tackle. Raheem Mostert was the leading rusher of this team when they went to the Super Bowl. I know he didn't play at all last season, but now he's a member of the Miami Dolphins. And then Traquan Williams was the starting corner on this team, is now in Denver.
Kwan Williams, I think, was their nickel corner, right? So
DJ Jones is now in Denver as well.
Yeah, and so that's why they drafted the kid Womack as well, kind of for that cornerback depth. When I look at Tre'Davious Ward, I like him a lot. Oren Burks was a solid linebacker for the Green Bay Packers. He fits right in next to Fred Warner. Losing Laken Tomlinson, solid offensive lineman. Shout out, he's a Chicago kid from Lane Tech, Duke kid, smart kid. Raheem Mostert, losing him. I mean, when you got Elijah Mitchell who played well, Jeff Wilson who played well, I mean, you could kind of cut ties with that guy.
True. And then I know he was important and he's really popular in the San Francisco franchise, but sometimes you got to move on.
Oh yeah, sometimes you got to move on. And when you're too injury prone, you're injury prone. I'm gonna say they getting Tre'Davious Ward, they needed a cornerback. They needed a linebacker. They needed some linebacker depth. Ray McCloud, wide receiver, from the Steelers. He had some brights. I mean, I don't know how much he's gonna. Whatever. Yeah. George Odom. Godly. Some of these guys. I'm just gonna go.
Safety. He was on the Indianapolis Colts. Signed a 3-year deal at $9.5 million. Came from the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and
I imagine he'll be their starting strong safety.
You think he'll be their starting strong safety?
Yeah, 100%.
We'll see. Yeah. So in my opinion, this free agency class is it's a C.
Fine.
It's a C.
It's fine.
A C. It's okay. It's fine.
I love grabbing Tre'Davious Ward from the Kansas City Chiefs because they had to do something in corner, and maybe you don't want to necessarily put a bunch of weight on a rookie corner to basically be your cornerback 1 next season. So getting somebody who's proven, played in big moments, played in the Super Bowl, that's a pretty good move for Tre'Davious Ward. But yeah, the rest of it, losing Laken Tomlinson really hurts. I would have found a way to try to keep that guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's definitely a solid guard. I would have tried to keep Laken Tomlinson. But I mean, you still got, big boy Trent Williams, future Hall of Famer Trent Williams. Best, I think. Would you agree Trent Williams best tackle in the league?
Yeah, I mean his PFF grade, so at least so. Whatever you think about PFF grades, but yeah, Trent Williams was the number 1 tackle last season based on PFF. So this is solid.
No, definitely.
I think they did what they could. I mean,
they did what they could with what they had.
guys had to go.
I don't think they had. I don't even think they had a lot of money to really even be big spenders in free agency.
They sure didn't. I mean, this roster is expensive. Jimmy Garoppolo's making a lot of money for a guy who's going to be on their bench. So, Trent Williams, we just talked about, he's making a shitload of money too. Fred Warner's the highest paid linebacker in football too. So, like, those guys are making a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So they had to do what they had to do, and they had to fill in some positions that were that they had some need in. So,
Mr. Henderson gives them a C. I actually think that's probably what I would give them too for their free agency.
Yeah, give them a C. Yeah. They did what they could. They couldn't do much. They couldn't be big spenders. They didn't need a big wide receiver. I would have loved for them, like you said, to keep Lake and Tomlinson. Couldn't keep him. We'll see. We'll see how Oren Burks plays. At the linebacker position next to Fred Warner. But yeah, other than that, I don't really care about Ray McCloud or George Odom. I don't even know George Odom. You say he's going to be a starter. We'll see.
He's going to start as strong safety. I'm predicting it now. Moving on, let's go to their schedule. Their first game of the season is against the Chicago Bears. This game is in Soldier Field. I think it's going to be Trey Lance's third career start in the National Football League. And if it wasn't against the Bears, I would be pretty concerned. But the Bears' defense next season might be one of the worst in the National Football League. So I will pencil San Francisco in to win that game. I just think if there ever was a game where you needed to get right and figure out how good Trey Lance really is, this Bears defense, at least their secondary and safeties are going to be fine, but their front seven is going to be a disaster next season.
Okay, although I have heard good things about Kyler Gordon and
me too, but that's also it's in their secondary. I think the Bears secondary is going to be really good next season. I think the front seven is going to be abysmal outside of Roquan Smith, who's currently holding out. So,
we'll see.
It might be the worst front seven
in this game too, as well.
It might be the worst front seven in the NFL for the Chicago Bears right now.
Yeah, I got San Francisco winning the first game of the season as well.
David Bakhtiari is not the best tackle in football, dude. He just had another surgery.
Hey, David, Henderson. I'm just as big of a Green Bay Packer fan as you. He's not the best tackle in the league no more. He's not it. He's not that guy. He's not that guy no more.
His career might be a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, for a big guy to have those two type of injuries, yeah, you're right. Trent Williams is definitely the best tackle in the league, in my opinion.
And then the next week, Seattle Seahawks come to town. I think they get their second victory of the season where they beat Seattle. This game is in whatever they're calling, not Candlestick, whatever Heinz.
Levi Stadium?
It is Levi Stadium. So, they get their second victory of the season by beating Seattle. We did Seattle yesterday. If you watched that show, I think he had we had 4 wins for them last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have 2 wins. 2 wins.
Yeah.
2 wins. Seattle. Yeah. This was definitely not one of the wins that they get.
No, for sure not. And then they go into Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos. Who do you think wins that game? I
got the Broncos winning that game. It's hard to play a Mile High early in the season. As I've always said, the high altitude gets the players early in the season. Everybody's not super conditioned all the way. You would hope they'd be in game shape, but dang man, playing at that high altitude is will get to you. So give me Denver for the win on that one.
Yeah, me too. Also, our thoughts. I meant to mention this yesterday, but I forgot as we got deeper into the show. Our thoughts out to Tim Patrick, who tore his ACL. Yesterday during practice. One of those guys who was like a 7th or undrafted free agent wide receiver that Denver picked up and has really groomed into a really good football player. Yeah. So it's sad to see a guy who's a popular player in their locker room get tear an ACL before in training camp before he even starts. So hopefully he makes a speedy recovery because he's been one of the good stories in the National Football League the last couple of seasons. Tim Patrick, his emergence as a standout wide receiver has been really fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Speedy recovery.
And Denver wins this game for sure. And then Los Angeles Rams comes into Levi Stadium. Does the San Francisco 49ers get their revenge at any point this season for the loss in the NFC Championship game?
No. No, they lose to the Rams. They're going to get swept by the Rams this year.
I agree with you. I think that, they for sure lose this game. I think the Rams are just a better team all around from top to bottom, offense, defense. And then they have 2 games back to back on the road against the NFC South. They go up against the Carolina Panthers, and then they go up against Marcus Mariota and the Atlanta Falcons. That still sounds weird to say. Do they win either game against those teams in the NFC South?
Man, I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna have them losing to Carolina and beating Atlanta.
What? Losing to the Panthers?
Losing to the Panthers. Yeah, three game losing streak after they go on a 2-game winning streak. Then they get back off the schneid against Atlanta.
Yeah,
it's close though.
The Davids are in agreement. Me and David Henderson, they're winning both those games. The NFC South is outside of New Orleans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's one of the worst divisions in football. Neither of those teams are going to be competitive. They're both going to be looking.
Mayfield is their quarterback.
Don't matter. Okay. Who's playing offensive line for them? No one. Is Chris McCaffrey going to? Is Chris McCaffrey?
Hey, Chris McCaffrey, if he's healthy, that's baby.
That is a major if. Then they got 2 games in a row against 2 playoff teams for the season to go.
And they had a top 10 defense last year too.
Who? Carolina? Yeah, that's true. They did. They go. So then they have a game where Kansas City comes into Levi Stadium. This is probably the first time these 2 teams have played since the Super Bowl. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be the first time they played since the Super Bowl. Do you see the same result as the Super Bowl with Kansas City getting the W here? This game is in Levi Stadium.
In Levi Stadium. Oh man, I want to go Kansas City.
I think they lose this game. I think Kansas City gets
I want to go Kansas City. I'm going to go Kansas City. I'm sorry. I'm going Kansas City.
I'm also taking Kansas City. Yes. And then they go one more game. They go on the road for the game before their bye. They go into SoFi Stadium, beautiful SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Do you think they get a victory against the Los Angeles Rams?
No.
I agree with you. Yeah, I got the Los Angeles Rams game. And then after the bye, they see that other Los Angeles team. They got to take out the Los Angeles Chargers. This game is in Levi Stadium. I'm going to have the Chargers exit out of Levi Stadium with a W. And what do you have them doing here with
I got them losing to the Chargers too. They're 3-6 so far in the season.
I got them at 4-5.
This is where David was talking about that they take a step back because the schedule is hard. They're playing a lot of good teams.
It's a brutal schedule. And then they go on the road into the Big Toaster and take on the Arizona Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins will be back at this point. His suspension will be over at this point in the season. Do you see them beating the Arizona Cardinals in the Big Toaster?
No, I don't see them beating Arizona in the Big Toaster. No, this is another loss for them.
I agree with you. Yeah, I have them falling down to 4-6. And then they have their arguably their most difficult games in a row, all at home. They have a game against New Orleans. This is in Levi Stadium. Then Miami comes to town and followed up by that other team in Florida, that Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do they win any 3 of those games at home against New Orleans, Miami, and Tampa Bay? I'm
gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna be this guy. Okay, I'm a glass half empty kind of guy. Okay, I'm gonna say, I don't know how healthy Jameis Winston's gonna be, and I don't know how healthy Michael Thomas is gonna be, and anything can go when you're playing at home. I'm gonna go 49ers to win against New Orleans, to win against Miami, but they lose to Tampa Bay.
They lose all 3 games.
Oh my God, that's brutal.
I think the New Orleans Saints are super underrated as a football team for this season. I think they could have potentially the best defense in the National Football League next year. And when I look at what they did in the offseason, like building up, putting more weapons, if Michael Thomas comes back engaged, and which is reportedly he's been looked awesome in training camp so far. So New Orleans, I think, is going to be super underrated. I think they're going to really give Tampa Bay a run for the money when it comes to even the division. I think they're going to be a borderline playoff team. Miami, same deal. I look at the secondary in the 49ers outside of Tre'Davious Ward. I think it's all kind of a mess. So Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. I think that's not a really good recipe. Give me Miami to beat them, and then I think they lose to Tampa Bay because it's Tom Brady. I got them falling all the way to 4-9 before they get off the schneid by beating Seattle in Seattle.
They do beat Seattle in Seattle for their 6th win of the season for me.
I know Jameis Winston is their quarterback. You remember, Jameis Winston was playing pretty well last season before he got hurt.
Yeah, he threw 4 touchdowns against the Packers.
Yeah, like he was playing pretty well. He was playing pretty well.
Yeah, he was. When Sean Payton was the head coach. Yeah. We'll see.
So we'll see. Dennis Allen, good luck. And then the Washington Commanders, which is the worst nickname in football, might be the worst nickname in all of sports.
I'm just gonna keep calling on the Washington football team. How about that?
I like that better. I like that better.
Me too.
And then the Washington Commanders come to town. I think they build up a 2-game winning streak here. They beat Washington in Levi Stadium, so I got them at 6-9. And then they had the last 2 games of the season. They go to Las Vegas, into Death Star, into Allegiant Stadium to take on the Raiders, and then they finish off the season at home against the Arizona Cardinals. How do you see those 2 games shaking out?
I got them losing to the Raiders, and I got them beating Arizona at the last game of the season. They're 8-10. They're 8-9 ball club this year in my book.
Yeah, I have them losing to the Las Vegas Raiders as well, and then I have them beating the Arizona Cardinals at home. Even though I do think that game could be one of those games where if San Francisco is already out of it, I think they could be benching some people. But I think they're going to beat Arizona. I have them at 7-10. That would be a major drop off of a season where they went from the NFC Championship a season ago to being a team that's for sure not going to make the playoffs next season.
And I got them at 8 wins. That Carolina game could be very close. They if they win that Carolina game, they'll be a 9-win. I mean, obviously they'll be a 9-win team. They could very much win that Carolina game. I got them losing to.
I don't think 9 wins would be enough to get them in the playoffs.
9 wins doesn't get them enough. It doesn't have them enough. And you know what, David? That's fine, because if you're rolling with Trey Lance as your full-time starter, this is his first season under his belt. You have some cornerback issues. I mean, the front 7 should be good enough to generate some pressure and to be able to stop the run. And that the offense should score a lot of points. But at the same time, if you're rolling with just Trey Lance, he's going to make some mistakes in his first full NFL season. We'll see. If he's as special as they think he is, then he may win some of these tough games. Like, he may win a game on the road in Arizona. He may win one of the games against I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he could beat the Rams on the road or at home. So
I don't. And I could be wrong. I mean, they could beat New Orleans. They could beat Miami. I mean, that would put them at 10 wins too. But
I don't even think
9
wins get you. You think 10 wins get you in the playoffs in the NFC?
Yeah, it does.
Think so? Okay.
I
think you have to win 11 in the AFC. The AFC is much more talented. I
agree. The NFC is way more top heavy. Like, the really good teams in the NFC are really good, and there's a bunch of teams that are fringe in the middle, and then there's some really crap teams. What would probably be the Bears next season.
I agree, man. So they're an 8-win ball club. They don't make the playoffs, and it's okay, because if it's Trey Lance's first time at full time as a starter, you can build on that.
I think that would still be a really hard sell for hardcore 49er fans. If you went to the NFC Championship game next year and then you change quarterbacks, you think you're going to get better, and you don't even make the playoffs the next season. I think that is going to be a real hard sell.
Let's make a quick timeout. If Jimmy Garoppolo, let me just give you a scenario. Let me just add, if Jimmy Garoppolo say they came out 3-4 or 3-3. Say they're 3-3 or 3-4, and they still have Jimmy Garoppolo. They make the switch. Do you think he can salvage their season and possibly make the playoffs, get them to 10 wins? Do you think he could win some of those close games, like at Arizona?
I don't know.
At LA.
I mean, he could probably, the Vegas Raiders, he could probably beat them. I mean, the New Orleans probably is a game that you win with Jimmy Garoppolo, depending on whatever's going on. I think that Miami game is a game you win. Yeah, you can get to 10 wins. But I mean, if you're a San Francisco 49ers fan and you saw your team go to the NFC Championship game, and then for some reason you made a quarterback change and then you end up stinking, you have 7 wins this next season, I don't think that's going to go over well.
No, not at all. I think 49er faithful are going to be highly pissed next season because they got this. You drafted top 5 for this quarterback, and he can't even get you to the playoffs. So I think they're going to be
and you're getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy who's been productive for you. So I know
it's got you to a Super Bowl, it's got you to the NFC Championship game. So
I have San Francisco 49ers falling to 7-10. Izzy's got them at 8-9. Neither of them have being a playoff team. Let us know down in the comment section what do you think San Francisco is going to be like next season. David Henderson says they're going to be 6-11, so he's even more down on them than
yeah. And you know what? It's crazy because I was like, when David said they're going to take a step back because of the schedule, I didn't even take a look at their schedule until now. Yeah. And when I'm just going through it, I'm like, holy smokes, they got one of the toughest schedules in the league. So, I mean, yeah, I take that statement back from the beginning of this season, beginning of the show. They are going to take a step back this season. They are.
Awesome. So we'll see. We're going to be doing the Arizona Cardinals tomorrow. Then we will have one team left. That'll be the Los Angeles Super Bowl champion, Los Angeles Rams. So you don't want to miss that content. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. And because we bring you content every single day. So continue checking out that stuff. I've been David Huppin right there, CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera. Izzy, what we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Bring the heat 24/7.
Fantastic, David. Looking forward to see you on the Arizona show. And yeah, we bring the heat, baby. And we'll be back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Continue checking us out. I'm David Humpin right there. Israel Rivera. We'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.
See you guys. Peace.